an old cowhand from the Rio Grande, and I learned to ride, for I learned to stand.
Hello, and thanks for dropping by for Hawkeye's old comics and cards. In this episode, what we hope to do is tell you about an amazing individual who was discovered by this gentleman here named Will Rogers. Around 1925, Will Rogers walked into the telegraph office, and the telegraph operator happened to be Gene Autry, and he was strumming his guitar and singing, and Will Rogers told him that he ought to try singing professionally. And so he did. He took Will Rogers' suggestion, and he did, and he was able to start singing professionally with Columbia Records. By 1929, he was on a program sponsored by Columbia Records called National Barn Dance, and he met this fella, Smiley Milhouse Burnett, and they became friends, and they worked together then for many years after that. And Gene began to have some hit songs. His first hit was That Silver-Haired Daddy of Mine.
Is a dear one who's weathered life's sorrow, is that silver-haired daddy of mine.
Or Silver-Headed Daddy of Mine. And then he and Smiley were discovered again by another individual named Nate Levin, and they were put in a movie called Old Santa Fe. Ken Maynard, this individual right here, he was the star, and Gabby Hayes was in that with him as Ken's sidekick. But Gene and Smiley were in the movie also, and Gene was billed in that movie as the world's greatest cowboy singer. So his career really took off, and Nate Levin, I guess it's pronounced, put him in a movie which was really a serial. Later they broke it down and made a movie out of it. But the Phantom Empire was perhaps the very first sci-fi western was ever done. It had 12 chapters, and in the first chapter, Gene Autry sang That Silver-Haired Daddy of Mine. So Gene and Smiley, they were in the pictures together, did some great pictures, about 44 pictures up to 1940 with mascot pictures, which may have become Republic pictures sometimes during that time. Gene is billed now as the first real singing cowboy, and he was a top Western star moneymaker from 1936 to 1942. Then some comic publications got in on Gene's career, and there was a publishing company called Fawcett Publications. They put out Gene Autry #1 in 1941, and it had 64 pages. Now, in the price guide, it says 68, but I guess it depends on who's counting. And had a full comic story, and the bad guy was someone called Cloven Hoof, or the Mark of the Cloven Hoof, who's a devil-like character. But I noticed in the price guide it said that Gene and Champ begin in that issue. And here you see what is supposed to be Gene riding Champ. But if you look inside, and I thought I'd try to show you this, there's Gene, and he and his horse are reunited again as the story goes along. And his horse there is a great white stallion. It's called White Cloud, and I hope you can see that. But actually, it wasn't champion in that Gene Autry #1, but it was a white horse called White Cloud. Here's another example of that first comic, and it's a restored one. These are actually pretty valuable if you can find one in really good condition. This #1 Gene Autry put out by Fawcett also has a color picture on the back of Gene, but it's possibly it's an oversight or something Overstreet perhaps didn't delve into. I don't want to get in trouble with Overstreet, but I think the first horse there in issue #1 was White Cloud. They made several issues after that, and I'll tell you a little bit more about Fawcett and Dell and some of the other comics in the next episode. But I wanted to leave you with this. In the good book, the chief shepherd, he tells a parable about the talents. And one of the individuals that talents were given to, of course, he was talking about money there, but I think you could interpret it also as your talent, anything you have to give. One of the people in that went and buried his talent. Well, Gene Autry didn't do that, and that really shows up in his life. What an amazing life. He did not bury his immense talent. He blessed so many people, and he, of course, was blessed by it. But I'll end with this. I hope you keep riding happy trails and give me a like. As Gene's friend Roy would say, may the good Lord take a liking to you.
I'm an old cowhand from the Rio Grande, and I learned to ride, for I learned to stand.